This week, we're discussing the Developer Direct from Xbox. This is the Good Game, Bad Game podcast.
This is a song I wrote about the Good Game, Bad Game podcast. Good Game, Bad Game podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Good Game, Bad Game podcast. I'm your host, Spencer, and with me is a man who is being mind-controlled by Xbox's energy-saving tactics. It's my co-host, Mike. Mike, are you with me? Are you there, buddy? Is everything okay? Blink twice if Xbox is holding you and your beliefs hostage.
You couldn't see it, but I blinked twice. Here's my thought.
Please.
And I emailed you about this earlier because I've been kind of marinating on this overnight.
You emailed me?
And did I just say I emailed you?
Yes.
Oh, sorry. You and I talked about this earlier because I asked if I could borrow the GGBG email.
Mm-hmm.
And that's because I have plans. And the plans entail us getting a conversation with a large media group. So one of two things is going to happen. I guess two of two things could happen. I'm going to send an email to a particular news company and try to get us a special guest on our podcast. Or I'm at least going to hopefully have a hilarious email and response to said media company.
Checks all boxes.
Yeah. So I do need to just get on my soapbox and scream for a couple of minutes.
Oh, by all means.
So you're referring to Fox News basically saying that Bill Gates is trying to get kids with the political mind virus of climate change.
Yes.
Which is, as we all know, just exactly what I said, a mind virus made up by liberal media for, I guess, some reason. I don't know.
There have been zero signs, just within my lifetime, zero signs of potential climate change. Nothing out of the ordinary going on here.
No. And definitely nothing called out in the song That Funny Feeling by Bo Burnham.
Don't get me started on global warming.
Hey. Get your Al Gore attitude and get out of here.
You know what I hate, real quick, just to interject? So I
people who deny climate change?
Yes.
Me too.
I hate the term global warming. Because I don't think it's like I think climate change just does a better job, you know? Because I jokingly will say, why is it so cold if it's global warming? And I hate it because as like recently, when those string of like terrible winter storms hit, that became like people's actual takes. And I was just like, oh fuck. Like I can't even jokingly say it without just now feeling like gross and like just like a fucking idiot. Because I do think legitimately, like, if you call it global warming, it allows people to try and make that argument. So that's why I'm always like, you know what, let's just call it climate change.
I always laugh because the historical reason why it moved from being called global warming to climate change is because of people who were like, yes. Oh, well, if it's global warming, why are we getting Arctic air and it causing it to be -13 in the Northeast?
Right.
And, you know, you just kind of have to, all of us extremist Antifa, far left libs have to slap our forehead and be like, global warming doesn't insinuate that the weather is going to be warmer. It's that the average temperature is going to be warmer, and that means that we're going to see climates that we don't usually see.
Mm-hmm. And you get hit with more extremes.
It's so funny because I was born in upstate New York, and I've spent a lot of my time in upstate New York. And like when I was a kid, we used to get snowstorms that could pretty much bury us. And I live in upstate New York again, and it's pretty much February, and I think the biggest snowstorm we've gotten was like 4 inches, which is nothing.
Right. And you can still get a snowstorm that'll bury you, but you definitely get a lot less.
Yeah, and you never see it coming now.
Right. Right. It's
It's like,
an
oh
hour
shit.
before the storm. There's a meteorologist randomly popping up everywhere yelling, "There's snow coming."
I mean, it literally is like
The roads aren't salted.
people should not be dying in Buffalo, New York.
Right.
Like snow is not a new thing there.
Right.
And yet people are, because the weather is just changing so rapidly
Welcome to the
that
Good Weather Bad Weather podcast.
yeah, for real. I took a meteorology course my last semester in my undergrad. So
I took a weather and climate course my freshman year, and the only thing I took away from it was if it's if it's if it's cloudy at night, the temperature stays warmer. Anyway.
interesting.
Yeah. Something like that.
So we were talking about video games or something.
Yeah, we were.
So I didn't actually get my soapbox moment.
I know, because I interjected. Please go off.
Yeah, no, you're good. Fox News is trying to say that we're pulling kids into climate change politics. But Xbox is very big on parental controls.
Hmm.
And it's like, do you think that your child is going into the settings and to the energy saver settings and being like, you know what? I do want to get another COVID vaccine. Like they don't fucking care. And it's not like Xbox is saying, like, it's not like they're having pop-ups on their home screen that says, hey kids, you
It's
love your
clippy.
planet?
It's fucking clippy.
Yeah. I see your current Xbox settings have just flooded another island in the Pacific. Would you like help to fix that?
Oh my god. That's the great thing. Like, it'll the update will happen, right? And then it'll be a pop-up.
It's not even an update.
Oh. This isn't like a
Xbox
setting
is...
that they're turning on. It's always been there.
So, yes and no. You have, since the Xbox One, like not from the launch of Xbox One, but towards the end of it. I will say this, since I've had my Xbox One X, this has been an option.
Uh-huh.
But you can choose to have like a quick start mode, which uses more energy because it's basically just putting your Xbox in a sleep mode, updates still run, whatever. You turn your Xbox on, turns on in 2 seconds, and everything's good to go. Or you can do a full shutdown, which does exactly what it says, completely powers it down, no connection to internet, takes, 30 to 45 seconds to turn on, and none of your applications are updated. Like that's been an option for a long time. The and for the most part, like that's not really changing. That's been there, and that is the most significant option that you have. The From what I understand, the new option is in off hours, and I think you can constitute that. Or they initially said that it might depend on like energy grid draw in your area.
Mm-hmm.
It will completely shut down your Xbox and prevent it from doing updates and such. Like when you're like during a period where they know you're not going to be using your Xbox, and then it will kick back on to do updates and then like shut off again. And then during times when you regularly play your Xbox, it'll be in quick start mode so you can just go straight in. It's like For the user, it's really not that significant.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's been this whole like, you know, as it of course needs to be on either side, the climate change polarization. But like energy bills are also
That's what,
massively fucking high right now. So why would you not want a computerized system to optimize how much energy it's using?
right. That's what I was gonna say. Like, like who care? Like, who cares about the climate change talking point? It's saving you money, right? Like, like
Right.
that's that's more so like I think the thing to try and like take away from it if you want to try and be like individualistic about it. So
Right.
I guess the
But the
talking
added
point
benefit
is
is
go ahead.
I mean, the added benefit is like it is harming the environment less, which, from, being called a conservative, you'd think you'd want to conserve the world you live in a little fucking more. But
I just think that's so funny that like no, we have to go on the attack about something that we don't like, but it's just like it's the whole like I'm gonna pay more money to own the libs. Like I'm gonna pay more for my energy bill just to own the libs.
it's yeah. It's like the people like in New York State where I live, they want to outlaw gas stoves, gas appliances.
Mm-hmm.
And like for me, I live in upstate New York, so whatever isn't electric is propane, and propane is very expensive.
Mm-hmm.
I would say I probably pay around $400 a month during the winter for propane. And you see these fucking idiots saying, like, on the internet, turning their gas stoves on just for no reason.
Right. Wow.
And it's like,
Yeah.
okay, you really want to spend $700 in a month just to own the libs like you got them? You fucking idiots.
Yeah. I mean, they turn it on for a 1 second video clip and say, "Yeah, I'm leaving it running all day," and then they immediately turn it off and then don't use it again until they cook their food or do a normal person thing. But
Yeah, but you understand that their followers are like, "Yeah, fuck them," and they're
yeah,
turning
and
their
then they
their
do
gas
it.
burners on all
Yep.
day, and
Give themselves carbon monoxide poisoning. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, whatever. You know what? At that point, fucking do it and kill yourself. This really isn't the good politics, bad politics podcast, but
What games did you play this week?
I think I need a cigarette before we move on. Holy shit. Well, as we all know, since we last recorded, Stadia died,
hmm
and I stayed up until the very end. I live on the East Coast, so that was they said 2:59 a.m. Eastern Time, 11:59 Pacific. And I was like trying to figure out what to play. I started I think it's either Foreclosed or Foreclosure. I don't know if you've seen that game. Um it's kind of like a cool like it switches perspectives between like regular like 2.5D to like comic 2D to
hmm
first person.
Okay.
Um I started playing that, but that game was honestly pretty difficult. They said like if you rip through it, that game takes like 3.5 hours. And at this point, it was like midnight by the time I started that game. And I told myself like I'd probably want to actually like play this game and enjoy it at some point, not try to rip through it. So I stopped it and played Welcome to Elk, which was a free game on Stadia Pro that I'd always been intrigued by but never played. And it said online that game takes about 3 hours to complete. And I ripped through it. I think I beat it in like 2 hours and 20 minutes or something like that. And I had on a computer next to me the like web page up for it that shows you your progress because it'll tell you like what your percentage of completion throughout the game.
hmm
and there was no trophies in this game. So it was purely like that's how far you are in the game. Well, I got to it was like 2:50 a.m. and it said I was 97% of the way through the game.
Oh my god.
And I was like, if I don't beat this game, I'm gonna go nuts. Um, and I got to a point where it was like a final walkthrough, and you have to like talk to everybody in the town. And well, I guess you don't have to, like you could walk by them, but that game is just all dialogue, like that is the whole thing.
Mhm.
So I was like, well, if I don't talk to them, I'm basically not beating the game. So I did that, and then it goes into like a cutscene, and it was like 2:58, and the credits finally rolled. And it said I had 100% on the Stadia website, and I was like, "Phew."
That's wild.
So I started and finished a game in my final 3 hours of Stadia. Uh, and Welcome to Elk, I think it's on pretty much everything. If you need just, like, a really weird fucking game that you can beat in a night, it's really interesting. I would recommend it. It is I think I texted you this, it is the weirdest game I think I've ever played.
Yeah, you did say that.
It was so strange. But it was good nonetheless. Glad I beat it. That was my last, official, like, completion on Stadia. Um, Before I played that, Justine and I were playing for a bit, um, Centipede Recharged, which
Uh-huh.
is like the old Atari game Centipede, and we ended up playing a shit ton of that game and really enjoying it. Justine had to go to bed early, so we didn't get to beat it, but we ended up buying it on Switch 'cause it was on sale. So her and I played that. That was the last game her and I played together, and then from, like, 2:59, I was like I just kinda, like, left Welcome to Elk open to, like, let the credits roll, expecting the server to shut off, like, pretty quickly after 2:59.
Mhm.
It was, like, 3:05 AM, I think, and they still didn't shut the server off. So, like, "Okay, well, I'm gonna play Worm Game, I guess," which was, like, the game they released a couple of weeks ago. It was their internal testing game. I was like, "This seems like an appropriate way to end it," and I was on the second to last level, and I almost beat it. Um, couldn't quite get there. I was getting tired, so it was 3:22 or something like that, or 3:23. I was like, I'm just gonna throw the credits on for the for Worm Game because it's like the whole Stadia team.
Right.
Yeah, I'm just gonna throw that on, and hopefully I don't mean hopefully like I wanted it to end, but I was tired. I had
Yeah.
to get up at 6 a.m. the next morning. I was like, maybe we'll be done. And let the credits roll. Rolled for about a minute, and it still hadn't ended. So I got up, was like, I really need to go to the bathroom. Stood up to go to the bathroom, and it froze and force quit the game, and that was it.
That's wild.
It was a very strange feeling. It literally felt like waiting for something to die.
Right. Right. Well, I mean, you were.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. And the fact that like you like were able to like beat a game up against the clock is sick.
It was
And
like it was the perfect game to play too, because it was about like without giving too much away in case anyone decides to play. I think it's from like 2018 or 2019. It's not a new game, but very much so about like death and goodbyes and stuff. It was very fitting.
yeah, wow. Well, that's awesome. And huge feat to stay up till 3 a.m.
I was it got to like 1 a.m. and I was like, "Oh my god, I need to go to bed."
Yeah.
But I got really trapped in this Welcome to Elk game, and I was like, how often do you get the opportunity to like be on a platform until it dies. Like, other than, like, individual games that have, like, aged, like the
Right.
original Destiny, like, that have run their course, like, um, yeah, I have not stayed up that late playing video games probably since either early college or high school.
Yeah, I was gonna say since the last time we stayed up late playing video games.
It honestly might have been. Like, my roommate and I in college stayed up late playing video games, but it was never, like, 3 AM because we're usually drinking and passed out by
Yeah,
1.
yeah, yeah. Crazy.
So, yeah, so now I gotta figure out what else to play. Um, after Stadia died, I had to travel, so I haven't really been home. Uh, Today I had a little bit of time, so I just did, like, a side mission in Cyberpunk 'cause I realized I still haven't 100% of that yet.
Nice.
Um, and I'm trying to figure out what to do about High on Life. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Because
yeah.
uh newsflash, Justin Roiland is all over that game and not a good person.
Yeah. It that is honestly probably enough to turn me off from it.
Yeah, it's fair.
I haven't played it since, like, I was kinda getting into like, the Stadia wind down. Um, and I was going to my original plan was to go immediately back into that, but, I might put that on the back burner for a while to see until seeing how things play out. I imagine I probably won't come back to it.
Yeah, understandable.
Yeah, that was my week in gaming, and now I need to figure out the rest of my life in gaming. I'm getting all sorts of emails now. Like, I've got either a month or 2 free of, like, the mid-tier, NVIDIA GeForce Now service that sent it to all. I think I technically get it from Ubisoft, but,
Okay.
tempted to try that. That's nice because, I have, like, a Chromecast with Google TV on our main TV, which is how we mostly played Stadia, so it's, like, built into that,
Uh-huh.
and they have a GeForce Now app, so I might try that out. Their service kinda sucks, though, to be honest, like, it feels like the very old cloud streaming services where it's like you basically are just on a remote desktop, and the mid-tier is, like, a 30 or a 2080 or something like that, and, like, 8 gigs of RAM, and normally that's $10 a month, which is how much I was paying for Stadia, and you can pay 20 bucks a month and you get, like, a 4080 machine, and I don't know. You also I don't as far as I know, you don't get anything with that, like, you don't get any included games, it's basically, like, whatever you own on PC platforms.
Uh-huh.
So, like, luckily, I got all of my Ubisoft games that I bought on Stadia. I now have them on Uplay, so, like, I could play those on GeForce Now, but, like, that's it. I'm never gonna buy any games for it.
Right.
So, but I'm gonna try it. Like, now's a good time to demo it, and, I think I can also get, like, 2 free months of Amazon Luna, um, which, like, I'm more intrigued by that platform, but I think I have to play it on a computer, like, there's no, like, TV apps unless you have a Fire Stick, which I am not at all in the Amazon ecosystem except for using Amazon. So, we'll see. I mean, I'm at the end of the day, Xbox is kinda gonna be the main cloud streaming platform I use, and I probably won't pay for another one, but it's a good opportunity to try other ones out.
Sure, yeah.
Anyway, tell me what you played this week.
I had a pretty boring week. I just played some Vice City. Um, it's been fun. Frustrating as all hell. I mean, like, you know how like the NPCs in GTA 5 are just like dickheads sometimes when you're driving, and they just randomly sideswipe you and spin you out, and you're like, "What was that for?"
LA
Um,
traffic, that's why.
yeah. Well, Vice City, let me tell you, cars love to randomly just sideswipe you, cut you off, and the game doesn't have like the cars don't like roll over. So like if you flip your car and you land perfectly on like your roof and like you have like a window to try and like push the momentum and like get it right side up, but like if you're on your roof, it's already over. And um obviously I'm gonna try and platinum it. And
Well, they have
there's
trophies on that?
yeah, because it's the definitive edition. So it's
Nice.
like a part of like the trilogy. Um, what 3 San Andreas and Vice City? I think were the 3, right? That got
I believe so.
yeah. It plays well. For being a PS2 game, right? And like it, it's just like very much like the from like that time because like the driving itself like isn't very good either. It's not terrible, honestly. Like I expected it to be way worse. I'm assuming that might have been like upgraded like slightly and like made a little bit better. But yeah, so anyway, there's a trophy for like if you get into a cop car or if you get into an ambulance or a fire truck or a taxi, any of those 4 specific vehicles, you can do it's called like side work or something like that. And like specifically in like so like a taxi, you're just dropping people off, but like in the ambulance, you need to go and pick up people and then drive them back to the hospital. And like each level is an additional person. So like level 1 is you need to go pick up 1 person, level 2 2 people, so on and so forth. And you can only fit 3 people in an ambulance. So like the trophy is to get to level 12. So you have to do 4 filled trips and like there's a time limit and each person you pick up like adds time back, but the ambulance, its weight is so goddamn terrible that I think I got to level 9 like 3 or 4 times last night and my eyes were burning because I was not blinking at all. And I got to like level 9 and then like I'd be on my way back to the hospital and like a car would quickly jerk in front of me and I would try to avoid it because the other thing about this game is that if you take a lot of damage in your car, you will blow up very easily. And so I tried to like avoid it and it flipped and I like pulled up like the like I was trying to quickly do a rage quit. Like I pulled up like the quick menu and I like had the cursor on like turn off console and then I realized that this game has weird auto saving, so I needed to make sure I did a manual save, so I couldn't even have the satisfaction of rage quitting the game. Um, but nonetheless, it has been fun. It's just like it's also great because I've recently been playing GTA 5, so like going back and playing a game that um is 3 generations old now at this point is kind of crazy. Um, and it's fun, and I'm enjoying it. So I'll probably have that
Hey,
wrapped up by next week. I'm thinking.
here's my main question.
Hmm.
So I tried to play, I don't remember where it was. I don't, and it wasn't like a remaster, remake, or anything. Oh, wait, hold on.
One of them
I
was
think
on
it
Game
was,
Pass for
I think it was San Andreas.
okay.
I did, I did start playing that, and that was fine. Um, with Vice City, does it let you use the right stick to like change your camera perspective?
Like to like turn the camera and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I had this question in my head and then I forgot that I'd played San Andreas like 2 years ago now or whenever that came out. But that's my biggest issue with playing PS2 era games is the mechanic is generally like where your character facing is where you're facing and you can't like use the right stick to adjust.
Hmm.
Anyway, moot point. Answered my own question.
Yeah. No. It again. It it feels modern for the most part. outside of like, again, like the small things where it's like if you crash your car too much, it will just like blow up, which doesn't happen in GTA 5. Like you have to like land perfectly after trying to do a jump, land perfectly on like the engine and it'll explode. Um but if you just drive into a wall over and over again, maybe eventually in GTA 5, but like I feel like you have a lot of leeway there. Um
Yeah, it's kind of like you said. There's like a sweet spot.
yeah. Uh so like but outside of that, like and then obviously visuals, like if anything, I think the visuals kind of look like dog shit. Because it like smoothed everything out. And I feel like I don't have it for PS2, so like I can't pop it in and like actually run them side by side, but like I'm kind of curious. I feel like playing it on PS2, graphics are amazing nowadays, but so I'm not saying that you wouldn't still look at it and be like, "Ugh." But like playing it, you'd be like, "Yeah, but it's a PS2." And like all of it looks like PS2. It's just so clear and clean at points, but the characters themselves look like dog shit. Like they don't even look like anything. You know what I mean? And it's
Yeah,
just like that's the one thing that's like a little weird. But overall, it's enjoyable. It's fun, and it's great that like it gives people the opportunity to like play those games. I mean, I know they had like the um. I don't even think they were remasters, but like you could just get them like the originals like digitally, but I don't know, makes it maybe a little bit more bearable.
right.
So it's mostly that. I did also have the opportunity to try out Vampire Survivors this past weekend.
Oh, how was that?
Um, Phenomenal. Oh my god,
Really?
dude. It's literally such a me game. Like I really would appreciate if it could come out for PlayStation because I was playing it. I was over at my buddy's and he has a Series X and Game Pass, and so yeah, like we were just looking at the games and stuff, and he was like, "Oh, Vampire Survivors, like we should try it." And so like we were like just like doing the thing where like he Shelby and I were like passing the controller basically, like we each do like a run, and um it was so sad. Like achievements were popping every 2 seconds. It was so satisfying.
Go
I was like,
on.
I need that in my life. It's fun though. Like literally, it's so mindless. You literally just move around and kite like the vampires around you, and like you don't have to like press anything else to shoot at them or anything. You literally just move, and then select upgrades and stuff like that. It's just like it's so satisfying though.
That
Very
sounds
yeah,
amazing.
it's very easy to just like kind of like get lost in a run, and then like I'm not saying it's like completely game changing or anything because again it is literally just one control, that's it. But there's something about that simplicity though that's just so satisfying and makes it so mindless, so easy to just sink time into. And then excuse me, when you like finish a run or when you die, like you know, throughout the run you get like coins and stuff like that, and so then you can use those for upgrades that like boost your like health, so that when you go back in, you start with like higher health. Um, so it's cool. Very neat game. Definitely recommend if you have Game Pass, it's free on there. And
I
I
do.
believe it's only like $5 on PC. That was for the listeners, Mike, not you.
Hey, maybe I am a listener.
I mean, I guess in this moment you are listening to me. So,
I am, and I generally do.
all right, but that's it for me. That was it for my week in games. So, oh, I also got the platinum in Overcooked too, or Overcooked All You Can Eat. Okay,
Oh,
now that's
really?
it. That's it now. Yeah, Shelby and I had been streaming that. Basically, we just needed to go through like the DLCs. We really only needed to play the first level on each DLC. And so we were like going through those, and it's just such a fun game. I love Overcooked. Uh, Okay, now that's it. Let's talk about Xbox more than we already have. Um, Today, as of recording this, they had their developer direct where they showed off some news for a couple of their bigger games coming out this year, and uh, I thought it was really well done. I thought it was like just like timed well. It felt like every game got like enough time to kind of showcase what's going on. The entire thing was like 45 minutes. So at the same time, it was, I feel like, kept relatively short. But yeah, I thought it was well done. And what did you think?
Yeah, I thought the presentation was really nice. Um, it was cool, modern, whatever. They stuck to their word of no like post, but they were still talking from the developers. Um, I thought it was really well done, and from what I've seen online, it was really well received. I would say, me personally, I think actually Jeff Keighley did like a Twitter poll.
Mm-hmm. So
Uh,
did the Good Game Bad Game podcast Twitter.
is that right?
That is right.
Look at that. I'm gonna give it the same rating right now. And there's 4 votes. Wow. And and there's one for each rating.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So I will say I gave it a B. Um, and I'm the sole B vote as of this moment. So our poll is mixed. Um, and honestly, I teetered between like a B and a C because it really was not for me.
Right, like the
Um,
game specifically shown.
right.
I gotcha.
Uh, but I still thought it was good. So I'm gonna kind of just go through my notes that I had. Do you want to just go game by game and kind of say our thoughts?
Yeah. Let's just go in the order that they had them. So first up was Minecraft Legends.
Yeah. Yep. Um, I thought it was interesting. It's I certainly a game that I think I'm going to try.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing that I wrote down that was really, really cool was that the PvP maps are randomly generated
Yeah.
every game, like
Yes.
in Minecraft, and that is just nuts to me.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. I
Other than that, I didn't have any other notes. Like, I'll try it. I probably won't play a ton of it, but the technology is cool.
Yeah, I kind of have like the same feeling. Like I looked at it and because when they first announced it too, I was just like, all right, like Dungeons had me, right? I still really want. I haven't played it yet, but like I still really want to play Minecraft. Right? Dungeons was the spinoff that got made
Yeah,
like a year or two ago at this point now, I think.
yeah, and friend of the podcast, London, told me it was very good.
Yeah, and I think with both that one and honestly Minecraft in general, like definitely for me seems like something that I need to play with somebody else. But nonetheless, I do want to play Dungeons eventually, and I thought that looked good. This one, like, definitely seemed a little lower for me, but again, like conceptually, looks very interesting, and the PvP seems so fucking cool that I think like back to when we had our group that would game regularly, how fucking awesome would it have been if they had this like PvP aspect um in a Minecraft game, right? Like where we could just
Oh, it
like
would have been
this
nuts.
well, it was like 6 of us, right? Like we could have done like if you have the custom ability to do custom games or private games where it would have been like 3v3 or something. It would have been so
Mhm.
much fun. We would have been playing that nonstop, I'm sure. But
Or even doing like all of us against a random group of
or
people.
that, right, exactly. Yeah. But now like I think about it, I'm like, well, who the fuck am I going to play this game with? That I would be able to like get into
Right.
PvP.
Well, you get
Like
an Xbox.
right. So like you and I, but then that's just two of us. And like I think back to when we played Siege and it's like two of us in a team of five. It's like it's great that you and I can like work together and like know that we can depend on each other to like do call outs and stuff like that. But like you can get a real crapshoot of like other people. So PvP just in general is always such a hard sell for me.
Mm.
But nonetheless, the PvE still seems like something that might be cool in this. But yeah, I'm relatively like mid on it. Um, that's all. Yeah, that's all I really have for it. Everything that they're working on seems very cool though, um, and that's exciting. And that comes out April 18th.
Yeah, which is, I mean, I haven't really paid a ton of attention to it, but like, didn't expect to see that come out early in the year.
Right. Um, Next up was Forza Motorsport.
I thought this was a really cool technical deep dive on the game.
Mm-hmm.
Like the fact that they have 500 vehicles and they modeled like damage and like wear on each car specific to like the paneling of it was just nuts.
Mm-hmm.
They talked about the sound design as well, and just that's all. That's honestly the all I have to say about it is the level of detail is going to be insane.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think out of most of the games, I think out of all of the games that I've seen, this is the one that's getting the most backlash
Really?
online. Well, it's about the release date because they just said it was coming in 2023.
I think I saw Jeff Keighley confirm that it would be before. What'd he say? He said before either by end of summer or before. I thought he posted something. He posted like all the release dates, I thought, for all of the games. Yeah. Here we go. Before end of June, Forza Motorsport is expected to release.
So like, why are people getting mad?
I don't know. But I guess probably because they only said 2023 during the direct.
Okay,
But I don't know.
well,
But also, like, that's this year. Like, so.
yeah, which is the targeted deadline. They're
Right.
still gonna hit their every 4-year deadline or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Like,
I,
I I
whatever.
I I'm honestly upset because, like, I still haven't beaten Forza Horizon, and, we're coming up on a new game. Like, yeah, they're
Right.
2 totally different games, and you could play them both at the same time and still be pretty satisfied, but
Yeah. The,
it's just wild.
it's crazy. So they started showing it, and of course, immediately my eyes were just like, this looks too good. I literally put in my notes, looks too good, should be illegal.
Mhm.
To your point, like the attention to detail is ridiculous. And I think there is just something so sexy about showcasing what these consoles can do by just making sleek and expensive cars go fast and look as good as possible. Gran Turismo does
Mhm.
it on PlayStation, Forza does it on Xbox. Love it. I love it. Um, the thing that called out to me, like again, this falls into like their attention to detail about all this stuff. But when they were talking about the dynamic aspects of the racing conditions changing
Yeah.
lap to lap, that is wild. The fact that like no two laps will have like the same, like it could start raining and like from the sounds of it, like it could be drizzling, right? And it could turn into like a downpour by the time you're finishing up the second lap. Or go the opposite way. Like it may start drizzling, but maybe it clears up, but like the track will still be wet. Like that's nuts. That reminds me of like when MLB The Show finally added the fact that like, oh, when you play a game of baseball, the time changes. Oftentimes you
Right.
can start a game in the early afternoon and it could be dark by the by the end of the game. Like, and when they added that attention to detail in, it goes unnoticed now. But like, think about how weird it would be if you started a game and it's like one light setting for the entire 9 innings. That's unrealistic. It's dumb. Makes no sense. The shadows now change. That attention to detail is what helps make these games like so much more immersive. And I think the whole like dynamic aspects of conditions and stuff changing throughout the race is awesome. That is such an awesome idea.
Yeah, and I think this is like a good representation of like the current generation.
Mm-hmm.
So, the big thing about this generation is load times. And now it's starting to progress into like rendering times. And we look at Minecraft Legends. And not that like seeding is anything new. Like obviously we've seen that with Minecraft since the beginning, but
Right.
to make it a PvP environment where you have multiple people getting this random seed, like that's pretty astounding. The fact that on the fly race conditions can change and it's not preloaded, like predetermined. It's just a random event that happens in the code is really cool.
Right. Yeah.
Uh,
That's
so
sick.
yeah, just another good next gen representation.
Yeah. And what better way to do it than, like I said, with uh, Italian cars?
Right.
Um, we talked about release date for that is expected 2023, and according to Jeff Keighley and his sources, it should be out by the end before the end of June this year. So that means everything. Spoiler for the rest of the games we're going to talk about. Everything that was talked about today will be out uh, before the end of the first half of the year. Um, Next up is Hi-Fi Rush. Curious to hear what you have to say about this.
My first thought was not for me. Like I would say within the first couple of minutes, just kind of looks JRPG esque, not for me. And then I kept watching it. I'm like, well, this is kind of like almost like Sunset Overdrive.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then like I kind of realized that it was Tango Gameworks, which is people who did The Evil Within. I was like, okay, that's a an interesting pivot for them
Mm-hmm.
to go from such a dark game to this. That kind of excites me. And then, they kind of described how it was. And this is like I think my favorite new genre description is rhythm action game.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, okay, so it's taking some inspiration from Metal Hellsinger, which just cool concept. Haven't played it, but cool concept. And just the way they described it, like you can play the game asynchronously from the music that's happening in the background, but you get like higher scores from making your movement match to the song.
Right.
And that's just so interesting. It's so creative.
Right. Yeah. We we get a game where you play as a cat, and now we get a game where if you do actions to the beat of the music, it makes you like superhuman, right? Like
Right.
you're that much more powerful and stuff like that. It's awesome. Yeah. Um, they started showing it right as soon as they started showing it. I was like, yes, please. I loved that they called attention to the fact that like previously they do like scary and like dark and like creepy games, and now they're doing this, which is so vibrant and colorful, and I think aesthetically it looks so good. It's like it, it reminded me of like Cyberpunk Edge Runners and like
It's like that cell shaded
yeah, yep,
Borderlands.
yeah. Um, I thought it was great. The music aspect is so cool. Didn't love the Black Keys, but that's all right. I thought, and I haven't really looked enough because it's only been 2 hours since the direct ended. First off, the one thing I did see, because they made the announcement that spoiler, just jumping to the end, this game is out today.
Yeah.
You can. I actually don't know if it's out yet. They said that it was going to be releasing later today. So
Let me
as of
see.
listening to this, though, it should be out and you should be able to play it. And so I was like on that tweet, and Kind of looking around to see what other people were saying, and I saw a lot of people saying like, "Oh, like it looked good until I saw that it was a rhythm game," and that like then I just stopped paying attention. And that means like if you got turned off by the fact that it's a rhythm game, but you thought the game looked good, that means you really didn't stick around to like hear them out and like give them the time to tell you about their game because they have a tool that helps players like notice the beat. Like so the cat itself that like, is your like buddy is like constantly showing you the beat, but then they like also have like that other feature that like makes it even more obvious for you at that will like show up at the bottom of the screen that is like a setting that you can like turn on. So to me, that screams that like even people who like have trouble keeping a beat, right? Like, you know, should have an easier time. And it's that much more accessible. The other great thing is that like it doesn't matter. You don't have to play it to the beat. Like you can
Right.
just button mash and like play the game however you really want. Um, but I thought that was like such a cool like because it being a rhythm game could be a barrier for some people, but like they're literally saying like, hey, but we are trying to make sure there's you know a way to like ease that burden, which I thought was so neat. And then they shadow dropped it and said that yeah, it's gonna be out today. Hadn't heard anything about this game, hadn't seen anything about this game, and it's now out.
Yeah, that blows my mind, and I think this might be the first time because I would consider this. I mean, like it's a Bethesda game, and I would say it's the first time that a relatively major game has been like shadow dropped without being leaked
Mm-hmm.
significantly. I'm sure you could go search on the internet before today and find it, but I didn't know about it, and I certainly didn't know it was coming out today.
Yeah.
Um, so I think that's significant. Um, it is. I'm looking at the Game Pass app right now, and for console, uh, and cloud, maybe, but it looks like it's available.
Sick.
It says coming 1/26/2023. Um, maybe they're just rolling it out by area, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it seems like it's out, and I think I kind of had the inverse experience where people said that once they heard it was a rhythm game, they kind of gave up on it. I gave up on it too quickly than I should have, admittedly. And then
Uh-huh.
they said it was a rhythm game. I was like, that's pretty dope. Now I'll probably play it.
Well, I love that it's out already so that next week you'll have had time to hopefully put a little time into it and
I
report
hope
back
so.
on it. That's sick. The other thing I was gonna say real quick is that I felt like the dialogue, because this is like the thing that people love to like gripe about. I felt like the dialogue was like super on par with like these clips that people are like sending around of like Forspoken or like they sent around of Saints Row, where it's like kind of like eye rolly. If you're I guess that intense into how a dialogue is, um, and I'm really curious if people are gonna like jump at this one or not because I don't know. It just felt like dorky and like very much so like I'm in a world by myself and it would be fucking awkward if this game had no dialogue. So I say things to myself that most people maybe wouldn't, but they also aren't in this situation. Anyway, that's just me getting on my soapbox. I will say
Yeah,
though, to jump on
I don't.
Forspoken on the bandwagon there, I do think the game looks a little lackluster from what I've been seeing, like visually, and I'm like, why is this seem like why did it like why were the specs? I think you said something like that about it.
Oh, I did.
You were like I need to I forget what you said. Whatever
You
you
need
said.
16 gigs of RAM and a 4080.
Yeah. For
That's the minimum spec for PC.
for it and visually you can go see videos like it doesn't look like it should need that, but the dialogue gripe I just can't get on board with.
Yeah, I the dialogue is, and I don't want to sound too much like an Xbot for that game, but I have said from day one that that game looks like dog shit,
You
and
have.
I still stand by that. I can't believe this game is getting published. I know it's got a 6 out of 10 uh, on Metacritic, I think. And I think that's being generous. I know a lot of people have said they've enjoyed the game if you can get past the dialogue and what it looks like, and that's great. I don't want people to not enjoy this game, but for fuck's sake, please don't pay $70 for it because it it just seems like it's dog shit, and it seems like it's Sony pumping out a game, and honestly, I think Square Enix is gonna suffer because they're the ones actually building it, and I feel like they're trying to build to Sony's spec. But anyway, that's my conspiracy theory. Um, the dialogue is not what I care about in that game, and I seldom care about that in video games, but
Yeah,
just like
the gameplay and the visuals and stuff.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's awful. It is so bad. And the fact that it's like the fact that the majority of people don't have a gaming PC that can handle it
Hmm.
just kind of goes to show that Sony's running the show and saying you need to build this for PS5.
Right.
Anyway.
Well, that was the one thing I noticed about, since like I said, everybody loves to get on the dialogue. Instantly I forget, I don't even remember what the line was, but I was just like, there's no way people are going to go in on this as hard as they have some of these other games more recently. And it's worth noting that like Saints Row had just immediate like negative attention, and Forspoken had like this immediate negative attention, and then that admittedly really bad like 30-second trailer that they created was put out, and then people just like jumped on it even more, and it's just like whatever. Anyway,
I don't understand the dialogue, and I didn't see this, but I'm not negating the fact that the conversation is being had. Like, what do you expect of the dialogue of this game? Like, it's a cartoon. It's basically a comic. Like,
oh no, I again, I don't understand what anybody expects of any game's dialogue if if the protagonist is literally in a world by themselves. Like what? Like how do
mm,
you expect the dialogue to be carried out? They're gonna talk to themselves, and they're probably gonna say weird shit. Like I don't know. Like they're gonna talk about something that happened, and in our everyday lives, if we walk downstairs, we're not gonna say, man, these stairs, and like and like call attention to it. But like in a
you
video
don't
game,
do that.
sometimes you have to do that. I mean, I'm not saying never, but like Christ.
I
Anyway.
was gonna say every time I go upstairs, I'm like, Jesus,
Right, but going down, do you call attention to it?
only when I eat it, which is often. More so actually, no, sorry. I trip more going upstairs than I do going downstairs. So, no,
Anyway,
I guess
yeah.
not going downstairs.
All right. Back to the developer direct. The next
Developer
game
direct.
that was talked about was an update that is coming out for the Elder Scrolls Online.
I'm glad you remembered that because I didn't take any notes for that because I don't care.
Cool. And I said the only thing I had to say for it was that I think it's great that they're still working hard on this game, and like they called to attention that this update is going to have a new like playable class, and it's only their third like added class since launch, which is crazy. But I think it's sick that it feels like every time I go into like the PlayStation store, it's like, a little like blurb that's like coming soon, and it's like an update. I think the last one was Morrowind, but Jess can correct me on that. And the other thing I said was I bet Jess is excited. So that comes out June 20th. But I think for both you and I, it's a game that we both kind of were like, all right, kind of get a little more work done or something while I wait for the last thing, which was Redfall.
Mhm. Um, I've been excited for this game. It's a little bit outside of my breadth of games that I play, but it's one that I kind of want to adventure into. And I think today kind of solidified that. One, it looks really good.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it looks really fluid, and the map looks really good. And generally, when a company says this is the biggest map we've ever made, I'm like, fuck me. Like, I don't want to spend my whole life playing this game. Um, but this map, like, genuinely made sense in my mind. It seems like something that's not going to overwhelm me. Um, and the one thing that they showed in this gameplay trailer that really kind of solidified how excited I am for this game is the different ways you can play it.
Yeah.
Um, Specifically, they showed that you can like stealth your way through it, and that's exactly what I want. I don't need another like go kill everything in the world kind of game. I want like a strategy stealth kind of game, and it seems like this might be it.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Yeah. I think I think visually it looks really good. I love the visuals for it. Uh Gameplay looks and like seems like it feels really smooth, and I think the gameplay overall looks fun. It reminds me like Far Cry, honestly, in a lot of ways.
Hmm. That's fair.
Um and like the story beats as well, where it's kind of like there's regions. I mean, plenty of other games do this. I'm simply picking Far Cry because like I love the Far Cry series, and like it's the best example I could think of in the moment. But it's like you have to like free the different regions of Redfall and stuff like that. And so like, there's gonna be like a boss of that region or whatever. And like there's something to be said about how Ubisoft just like carbon copies like layouts and stuff like that. But like it is a pretty darn good system that's satisfying, at least for someone like me. The way you can like kind of just like go up and down the map side to side and like clean it and clear it out, that is satisfying. That's exactly how this one feels. But again, like the visuals and like the overall gameplay seems really fun. And I said this seems like as soon as I get a Series S, this should be the first game that we play together, because this feels like a Mike and Spencer game. Um, from like how the gameplay is, I think it would be a ton of fun, especially because you're saying like you want to be all stealthy, and there's nothing better for me than when you're trying to stealth and I accidentally alert someone and have to explain why I alerted someone. It's the best. I love it, and I really can't wait.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely one of those games um, that depending on how you want to play the game, you can.
Hmm.
So
Yeah,
it
it's sick.
feels like a good version of Rainbow Six Quarantine or whatever it ended up being called.
Yeah. I love that like the characters have like different like abilities tied to them. Like I think that's neat. Um so you can really try and like figure out like what the strengths and best like way to go about it is. Um but yeah, I love that there seems to be a lot of like you can have a lot of influence over how like it goes, and I think that's sick. But yeah, I mean, overall, that comes out May 2nd. Uh, Overall,
Yeah.
I thought this was good. Um, I loved the updates, and like, um, you know, I think three of them are games that I look forward to at least trying. Honestly, four. I look forward to trying Minecraft Legends. I have Elder Scrolls Online. I just wasn't able to get into it, and now it just feels like too much at this point. But
Hmm.
I mean, I thought it was a good direct. I loved how they showcased everything, and it really felt like everything got its like fair share of the time. Nothing really overshadowed anything else, in my opinion, which was nice. Sometimes when it comes to like these like big events and like games being shown off, you're really just waiting for the end to finally see when God of War is going to come out, or if it's Xbox, everybody just wants to see and hear about Starfield. So I love that
Hmm.
they didn't like put it in this, and as it should, they're just going to give it its own little like showcase. But yeah, I thought it was really well done. So tip of the cap to Xbox for this.
Yeah, I mean, I thought the format was great. Um, a lot of people online were hyping this up to be like the 2023 roadmap, and I think Jeff Keighley said that Microsoft is anticipated to put like more stuff out there during forget the event, one of the ones in LA.
Probably their like big summer showcase, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. The yearly showcase in LA. So that's exciting. I think we got enough to get us through to there. If you're an Xbox fan, so we'll see what they come out with. I imagine probably more Starfield.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm guessing. Again, the rumor was that they were going to do its own event, so I'm guessing that would be before um, that summer showcase. But yeah,
Were they going to do something this like within the next week for Starfield,
I
or
can't
did they
remember.
just?
I can't remember if they said that or if it was just a simple like at some point, you know.
Gotcha. Okay, me neither.
But it came out at the same time that they were talking about this being a thing, and so maybe that's why we're thinking it's like sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I think so.
Um, but yeah, like I said, the podcast Twitter does have a poll up, so if you're listening to this as it comes out, I think the poll ends tomorrow, so day of the podcast coming out. But definitely let us know your thoughts on the direct if you enjoyed it. If there's a particular game that you're really excited for, something that you're maybe more hopeful to hear about, or something that you're waiting to see more about of these five. But definitely let us know your thoughts. And yeah, so I think if you're still good, we want to talk about video game adjacent, The Last of Us TV show. Yeah.
Yeah, let's give it a couple minutes.
All right. So, um, real quick, if you don't want to hear about the show, I don't think we're gonna get too spoilery, but just in case, I'll say a quick goodbye to those of you who don't want to hear us talk about The Last of Us. Thank you so much for listening, and let's talk about it. All right. So we are 2 episodes in now, right? And um, I so far am like, hell yes, this is great. I love it. Um, some of the changes that they have done, I think, are overall like fine and good for the show. Like, the big thing that I was kind of almost concerned about, and I'm interested like down the line, is the fact that there aren't spores in the show. Um,
Yeah, that was
that
interesting.
there's what do they call it?
Like the networks, I think they call them.
Yeah, and then like it's like the like tendrils that like come out of the mouth and stuff.
Yeah,
Um, so I thought that was interesting, especially because like the gas masks like play into like that like how they have to live, right? And so like
right.
but I said to Shelby when we were watching it, I was like, honestly, it kind of makes sense because the guy who's doing the show did Chernobyl and he's probably done enough gas mask scenes for a lifetime. So um but I think the show has been great. I thought the first episode was amazing. The scene, like at the beginning when Joel, Tommy, and Sarah are driving in the truck, I had chills. That entire
Hmm.
scene, I thought it was so well done because it was basically shot for shot from the game. But again, they've done like some other like small changes, and it was kind of the thing that I talked about the episode of the podcast before the first episode of the show, where I kind of said like part of me is almost like curious that like the show could end up being better than the game because they'll be able to do different scenes or they'll be able to like focus on a character. And so I think this might have been the first episode, but when they're first showing Joel in like uh the like zone in Boston and like he's working in like the city and stuff like that. Like it just had a different feel that I feel like works better for a show than it would for a video game, which is like totally fair. Um, but I'm loving it so far. I've talked now for so long, so I'm curious to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, no, I've been loving it as well. And here's kind of my viewpoint on it. That is that if you love The Last of Us and you love the lore of it,
Mm-hmm.
this has added so much more depth to that. It explains so much about what is going on that either the game doesn't, or like you have to really search around to find this level of detail in the game. Um, for example, the first scene, talking like it's like a TV show from the 70s or 80s or something like that, talking about cordyceps
Mm-hmm.
and how it like couldn't exist in humans, and the guy was like, oh well, if the kind of going back to what we talked about in the beginning of the episode, if the temperature of the earth rises and the human body temperature average needs to lower to accommodate to that, like it could exist in humans.
Right.
Like that kind of like lore is so cool, and it puts it into perspective in a way that, as far as I know, the game did. Um, so like for me, and it's so funny. Like the episodes come out on Sundays. At least the first two episodes I haven't watched until the following Monday. I imagine that's going to be my regular schedule for this.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll like go on Twitter and I'll be like, "Oh shit, I shouldn't be on Twitter because
Yeah.
I don't want a Last of Us spoiler." And I'm like, "Well, I've already played the game. I think twice now. I know what's gonna happen." And yet, like every episode I watch, it's like brand new to me.
Yep. I know, right? It's crazy. It's so crazy.
Yeah.
Um, I think as a whole, I think what's so great about this series that some people in the gaming world aren't considering, and I think we touched on this, is the fact that like the game series as a whole, I think has sold 30 million across now 4 games, right? And like 3 of those are The Last of Us, right? And then The Last of Us Part 2. Um,
Mhm.
but like it's only sold across those 4 games 30 million, which in like the grand scheme of global population is such a drop in the bucket. And now obviously like there's other ways to still be able to experience the game without buying it and playing it yourself, so on and so forth. But I think that's the great thing, is that like this story can get to like so many more people now, and it is really just such a like a phenomenal story. And I think people roll their eyes because The Last of Us gets like sometimes like too much attention, which I can understand. Like it does really get shoved down your throat. I love it. I do. It is like one of my favorite games. So like
Mhm.
I'm in agreement with the people who keep going on and on and on about just how amazing it is. But I think this could really help open the door for some other like great games with like amazing narratives to make the jump and like show that like yes, video games can be made into to other media. And I think shows are probably the best format for a video game, so that you don't try to make Assassin's Creed boiled down into a 2.5 hour movie. But I digress.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I it's great, and I have the same thing where it's like I haven't watched it yet on a Sunday night. I wanted to this past Sunday, but like we were doing other stuff and didn't get back until late, and I was just like, that's fine, we can wait till Monday. And I went on Twitter and I was just like, I don't want the episode spoiled for me, because even like I just don't want to know how like quickly they're moving through the story. Like I don't want to know uh what exactly is going to happen. I want to be surprised by what's going to happen when it happens, as they like go through the story, and like not be ready for to just call attention to something that happens very early in the game and happens in the first episode of the show with Sarah getting shot. It's like I don't want like, think of something else that happens in the game that's like on that level, and it's just like I don't want to know that like, oh, this is the episode where like that's going to happen. I don't want to be ready for it until like I'm watching and I'm like, "Oh my god, it's coming up," and like then experience it. So it's very funny how like even though we know the story and it's following it pretty true. Like, it's just so well done that it's just like, I don't want to know. I want to be able to experience it when it happens.
Yeah, exactly. And I think I'm like pretty far removed from the last time I played the game that while in general I know what's going to happen, like I couldn't necessarily predict in an episode what's going to happen.
Right.
Like in episode 2, like the thing with I'll try to stay as least spoilery as I can, but like um one of the final scenes of that episode with Tess, like I kind
Yeah.
of forgot about that. And while that scene is different in the show, what happened as to like what happened in the movie, or sorry, in the game,
Mm-hmm.
it's still kind of cool.
Right.
Like you get that premise, but yeah, I mean it's amazing what like I would say this is I can say pretty confidently the best video game story that I've played.
Right.
And now it's cool because like my brother Chris of One Us Plays, he's watching it and he loves the show, and now he's working his way through The Last of Us Part Two again because he's like, I forgot how much I love this story.
Yeah. Yep.
So he's back into playing The Last of Us Part Two, and I saw my parents this weekend, and they were like, "Oh, we're thinking about getting an HBO subscription," and I was like, "Oh, why is that?" And my dad was like, "Oh, there's this new show out," and that's all he said. I was like, "Is it The Last of Us?"
Yep.
He said, "Yeah," and my parents were really big into The Walking Dead and all
Mm-hmm.
that. And, I told him I was like, the whole zombie thing has gotten old to me. I feel like it's the same story over and over and over again. And The Last of Us is basically like honestly the most realistic storyline for like a zombie apocalypse.
Right.
I say in air quotes happening in real life.
Right.
And they were really excited about that. So I think they're gonna watch it. I actually just texted them to see if they did. Sounds like they watched the first episode, so I'm excited to hear their reaction to it.
Yeah, it's so awesome. I had the same thing where somebody who plays video games, but they have an Xbox, but they are like, oh yeah, there's this new HBO show coming out, and it's like zombies and stuff, and I was like, oh, and then they were like, yeah, it's called The Last of Us. I was like, don't know why I didn't like register with me like what you were talking about, but it's just like I was like, it's actually based off of a video game. It's just so funny that it's
Right.
like even somebody who plays video games is removed enough to not even know what this is. So like that's why I think it's so awesome that they're doing this. Um and they're doing it very well. The other thing I was gonna say is Bella Ramsey does Ellie so well. Like it's
Uh-huh.
so good. Like
But she's not hot.
weird.
I know.
Reminder that Ellie in the first Last of Us especially is supposed to be 14.
Like,
So
yeah, 14. Chill,
um,
dude.
it's gonna be all right. But yeah, look forward to it every week now. Um, and I think it's safe to say that each week we'll probably do a little like slight like recap or thoughts on like the latest episode basically at the end of each episode of the podcast, just because it's for both of us it's like our favorite uh narrative in any game, so it's hard not to just get like giddy about it.
I'm texting with my parents now, and they said, um, love the way it started, can't wait to see where it goes. That was what my dad said. My mom said, she thought it was good.
Woman of few words.
Um, yes.
Is good.
Um, but it's funny, like I was talking to them and I was like, "Oh yeah, that was based off of like this game that I was playing in 2013." And at that point, I was living with them,
Mm-hmm.
and they're like, "Oh yeah, I remember you playing that."
It's crazy.
I tried to we we got my dad a PS3 and then subsequently a PS4, and I tried to get him to play it because I knew he would love the story. I don't
Mm-hmm.
think he ever did. But again, it's like they get to get this story now, and it is the best video game story of all time. And I'm just so happy about that they
Right.
get to experience that now. I'm about to go watch episode 1 and 2 again just because.
Dude, episode 1 was just so fucking good. Oh my god. And episode 2 was directed by Neil Druckmann, who was like the game
Yeah,
director. So that was his like TV directorial debut, and just incredible.
I don't know if I said this earlier. I feel like I did because I was thinking about it, but like Neil Druckmann said that he's so glad that this got picked up because now his parents can experience his story.
Yeah. It's awesome. It's so awesome. Ugh. I love it. I love it. I could literally talk about it for hours. Just these
Oh,
first two
absolutely.
episodes. Just all like the different shots and like story beats that they're doing and stuff. Oh,
Hmm.
just everything has just been so good. Oh, clickers were in the second episode.
Yeah.
So we got to see them like for the first time on the big screen. Oh god, incredible. Um, well, I think we can wrap it up for now. We'll have I don't know how long the first season is going to be in terms of episodes, but we have plenty of weeks
Yeah,
ahead of us to talk about it.
I expected him to get further in the second episode, but I guess I'm glad they didn't.
I mean, I'm trying to think the game story, like if you're playing it and like, for the most part taking your time and stuff like that, it's probably only 10 hours max, right?
Something like
I can't
that.
imagine it's much more than that. So like it feels like for the most part it would fit into that like relatively nicely in terms of hour-long episodes. Like 10 episodes could probably get it done. So we'll
Yeah.
see. Um but yeah, so we have plenty of weeks to keep talking about it, and I look forward to it. If you hung around to hear about The Last of Us, you can also let us know what you think about The Last of Us so far, the show or the game. And yeah, other than that, thank you so much for joining us again. And as always, leave us a rating or a review wherever you listen. Just a reminder here at the end that we do have a YouTube channel now. So if you like the YouTube platform, think it's a great place to like throw comments and stuff. So feel free to leave us your feedback there. Also, after the episode's release, I also go back and release like kind of like break the episode into the actual like news segments that we cover and release those separately, so they're a little more digestible if you choose to experience it that way. But thank you so much for listening, and as always, be sure to share and be sure to share with a mom. And we'll talk to you next week.